Welcome to the Sunshine State. The stars have been shining all March long. 4 teams remain: UConn, UCLA, South Carolina, and Texas. As expected, it's a little toasty out here, but probably not as hot as Paige Bueckers has been. The Bruins hoping to cool her off just a little bit. We also get a rematch of a rematch of a rematch. A trip to the title game is on the line. Welcome to Countdown to the Semifinals, delivered by Wendy's. The squad is outside in Tampa. Ari Chambers, Carolyn, Peck, Christine Williamson here, holding it down. We feel good. We feel great.
Yeah.
We feel amazing.
Good. I mean, we're melting a little, but it feels great.
It's
appropriate.
Sunglasses.
Your sunnies.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you should have done that. It's okay. But we're very excited to be here. It's going to be a couple of good matches. We only have 3 more matchups remaining in the women's college basketball season.
Can't get
I'm
over
sad
it.
about it, but it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at the semifinals. You already know exactly what's going down tonight. 7 p.m., we got South Carolina versus Texas, Part 4. And at 9 p.m., UCLA taking on UConn. So, ladies, when it's all said and done at the end of the night, because we're going to wrap everything up later, who do you think is going to be headed to the championship?
You know, between these 4 teams, I think experience is going to play a big
Absolutely.
part in this. And when you look at Gino's going after his 12th national championship, Dawn Staley's going after her 5th. Got a lot of players that have been here before. I'm going to have to go with those 2.
I think in tournament time, just like Coach Peck said, it comes down to, have you been here before? Do you know how to handle yourself in high-pressure situations? I have UConn, South Carolina for the final.
At the end of the day, I feel it always comes down to experience. We talk about that across the board. All right, let's break all of that down. We're going to start fueling the run delivered by Wendy's and take a look at UConn, the bucket getter, Paige Bueckers, and her run through this tournament. The first round game, it was calm, some light. The next 3, she averaged 35 points a game, including, of course, that 40-piece that she dropped on Oklahoma. She's looking to break her own program record with her 4th straight 30 or more point game. So, CP, how has she been able to be so good and so efficient throughout the entire tournament?
Well, I think that Paige Bueckers' basketball IQ and savviness, like she knows where her spots are. She knows how she plays really a play ahead. So when a screen's coming for her, she's already reading her defense and knowing where the defense is going to be. And that muscle memory, she is ready to pull the trigger. Her shot, y'all play golf?
Yeah, sometimes.
So, you know, when you play golf and you've practiced and you practice, you don't even have to really look at it. You know what to do, and that's what Paige Bueckers is able to do. When she comes off the dribble, she knows how to get inside the defense. She sees where the screen is, where the opening is going to be, and she's able to, if she doesn't score, get to the free throw line. She is so quick and so, I mean, just dangerous.
Dangerous.
And she can make lemonade out of some lemons. That's even scoring over Rhea Marshall. That's a 6'3" length right there. Again, it goes back to that muscle memory. And she can tell you, look, get out of my way, clear the way, because I know that window's going to open, and she's ready to knock it down.
Yeah, she's so swaggy, too, out there. Okay, so we know Paige has been at UConn for 5 years. This is her 4th Final Four. She's back-to-back Final Fours for her. How much pressure is on her to get a win?
You know, the amount of pressure, that's neither here nor there. She said the second that I committed to Connecticut, I assumed the pressure. I already knew that it came with expectations. Anything less than a national championship is a disappointment to them. They said, we have a goal in mind, and we're looking to accomplish that now. The greats that have come before her, she knows the precedent they have set for UConn basketball, and that's what they intend to do this weekend. And so the pressure, I mean, hey, thrive under pressure, crumble under pressure, but like Coach Peck said, she's performing under pressure.
Coach, when you think about her going into this Final Four, this is her last time. This is her last shot at it. Obviously, she wants to win a title. She wants to win a Final Four matchup. How do you think she's handling that pressure?
Oh, I think she's handling it great. I think Paige Bueckers is built for this kind of pressure. I think that that's why she's the great player that she is. The great players that have achieved success, they welcome the pressure because you know what pressure makes.
Diamonds!
So
Period.
that's why Paige Bueckers has been able to elevate the game to the level that it is. She works at it. She trusts her work. she deserves to be paid off for it, and I think that pressure has helped fuel her to be the player that she is.
And I think her team has bought into the fact that she deserves to be paid off for it. She's been working so hard at this common goal that they've had and finally coming into full form right now.
Yeah, and you mentioned it earlier. There's been a lot of greats that have come before her. She currently sits tied for 5th most NCAA tournament points all time. She needs 48 points to break the all-time record. There have also been so many good greats at UConn. By the way, she could possibly break that tonight. I'm not even going to lie. She dropped 40 in the Sweet 16.
She's not playing with us. She's not playing with the girls.
Drop 48. But does she need a championship to solidify her legacy at UConn?
Yeah, I love this discussion because there's a difference between like the most winning player or the greatest player, but like, is she one of Connecticut's greatest? Absolutely. Do I think that she needs a championship to solidify her in like the top 3? Maybe. I don't know, Carolyn, we go back and forth with this, but the greatness that players are individually compared to the collective, I think that Paige has broken those individual records, has really aided and helped her team to be the best version of themselves. She makes everybody around her better. She's going to be forever in the history books of Connecticut basketball, but can she get that ring?
Well, here's the thing. When you talk about a legacy,
yeah.
Or do you talk about a player who has really put her stamp on the game?
Right, because the legacy is there. The legacy is already
there,
yeah.
Because there are players who have not won championships that their name is etched in your brain.
Right. Absolutely.
You talk about Dawn Staley, who coached South Carolina. She was at Virginia, never won that championship. That motivated and fueled her to get her team back here today.
Right.
Caitlin Clark didn't win a championship, but her name has been etched in our brains
record books forever.
Of women's basketball. So I don't think that necessarily you have to win a championship to have a legacy, but I think to be listed as one of the all-time greats, yeah, I think you got to have a ring.
It's that ring.
That makes sense. I get it. But at the end of the day, as you guys mentioned, she's still Paige Bueckers and Paige Bueckers. So we'll talk much more about that matchup in a little bit. That was fueling the run delivered by Wendy's. Head to Wendy's.com/March Madness to grab your meal before game time. I know you're going to be hungry. All right, let's dive a little bit into this matchup, shall we? South Carolina taking on Texas. They met twice in the regular season, each winning at home. Texas's win snapped South Carolina's 57-game win streak in the SEC. The Gamecocks got their revenge, of course, in the SEC championship game. But one of the storylines this entire season for South Carolina has just been that they haven't played in the same way that we're used to South Carolina playing, absolutely dominating. Last weekend, they won both matchups by just 4 points. So, CP, what has been the biggest reason, you think, for South Carolina's, just the way that they're playing so far?
Well, I think people think South Carolina's struggling. Y'all, they lost 3 games.
And they're in the Final Four. Hello.
Like, I'll be okay.
Why are they slipping?
I think you got to adjust your lenses.
Yes.
You're used to seeing South Carolina have an All-American center in the middle. Asia Wilson, Aaliyah Boston, Camila Cardoso. Well, now they're winning differently.
Yes.
They've got post players in a Chloe Kitts and a Sanaya Fagan and Joyce Edwards, who are athletic posts. They can defend away from the basket. They have guard skills. And then you got that quickness, super quickness of Maileza Full-Wiley coming in. We got a lot of players from last year's team that are on this team. They just got to win differently. Their struggles have been inconsistent shot selection. When they decide to go one-on-one and create off the bounce, that's not a strength for South Carolina. What they've got to do is move the basketball side to side and keep an eye in the post. If they play through the paint, they don't have to just score in the paint, but they've got to play through the paint. And when they do that, then they're able to move the basketball and get rhythm shots. That's when their percentages go up on the perimeter.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just feel like at the end of the day, despite the margins of victory, I mean, it has been a kind of turbulent, task to get here, but they got here.
Yeah.
And they have different utilizations of depth that I haven't seen in past years. So just how deep they are this year is an advantage to them.
I do think it's very interesting because we're like, why is South Carolina slipping as they're currently in the Final Four? Hello, they're still doing South Carolina things.
They are.
But their bench has been their biggest weapon this year, but they had a season low, 9 points in the Elite Eight. They really rely on their bench. What has attributed to that slippage?
I think what Carolyn Peck just said, the discipline, the shot selection, just forcing things that aren't natural to them, just not being able to I think it's a discipline thing. I really do. Just not trying to make something happen that doesn't exist for you already.
Well, here's the thing. the leading scorers for South Carolina come off the bench. Now, as a coach, more times than not, you use the scouting report for the 5 starters. Well, what happened in the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 is those teams prepped for when Joyce Edwards came into the game, when Malaysia Fulwiley came into the game. And not only are they young, they're inexperienced. But I went to the practices in Birmingham, and Don Staley spent a lot of time really putting them in those situations so that they're ready to handle the moment. The key is, I think the bench will come around, but I think that it's the starters. And Chloe Kitt's been key in that.
Yeah.
Since that loss to Connecticut, Chloe Kitts has nothing but double figures.
She said, and I took that personally.
Right?
And I took that personally. But they do have 3 seniors, 4 juniors, so just having that experience within tournament play, honestly, within play, in collegiate play in general, it makes a difference. It makes a difference. They've been here. They know what it takes to win a championship. Most of them have won a championship, so just looking for them to solidify what it takes to be here.
And we talked a little bit at the top of the show about this, but how important is experience, being here at the Final Four before and being able to show up in these moments like this?
Okay, I'm going to sound hypocritical right now. Because when we won the championship in '99, we had not been there. I had been here as an assistant with Pat Summitt, but my players hadn't. And so they were able to come here, and we were able to go win a championship. But I think that when you look at Connecticut and South Carolina, I think that experience and the experience of the coaches, they know how to prepare their team, not between the Elite 8 and the Final Four, but back in the offseason, in the summer. When you're playing those non-conference games that put those calluses on your hands, then when you get here, you know how to continue to handle business. Don't act brand new just because you came to the Final Four. Do what got you here, and that'll carry you to a championship.
And outside of focusing on seeding, that's why Don Staley schedules the way she does, so that they are battle-tested by the time they get here. But honestly, when Coach was talking, I'm distracted by the diamonds.
She said, when I
won the championship, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Well,
Period.
Look at her. She's so humble. She's like, well.
But the key to it is not so much experience, but leadership.
Yeah.
100%. That's what I was going to say.
It's got to be the leadership.
They have the women on the team that can show the people that haven't been here before what it's like to be here
Absolutely.
and what it's like to show up in these big moments. You mentioned Malaysia Fulwiley. She's had a kind of a roller coaster of a tournament. She had 23 points in the Sweet 16, just 5 points in the Elite 8. What do you think, Ari, is going to contribute to her success tonight?
Just consistency is key, right? Just make the shots that you know you can make. Quality shots so she can stay in the game. When she's off the floor, South Carolina does not benefit from it. So Malaysia, just making quality shots.
Malaysia can stay on the floor if she defends. Look, that's the golden ticket to play for Dawn Staley. You have to play defense, and if you notice in games where Malaysia makes those spectacular highlight plays, it's because she's gotten a spark defensively. When she locks in defensively, the rest of her game flows. If she's getting busted in ball screens or getting held up there, she's going to take a seat. But if she fights over and she gets there, gets steals, and gets out in transition, Dawn Staley will let her stay on the floor.
Especially in teams that their whole identity is defense. They're going to be playing Texas. South Carolina and Texas are 2 and 4, respectively, in defensive efficiency. So just, both ends of the floor, or else Donnie will yank that thing out.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about their opponent, shall we? Because as we know, the stars shine bright and big and what does this say? What's deep in the heart of Texas? The stars that night are big and bright. What?
In the heart of Texas.
That's what I'm trying to do.
It's not Texas, but we're Florida, but yes, Texas.
Oh
my God,
no,
the
Texas
team.
basketball.
The
Yes,
team.
girl, she's confused. Anyway, let's talk about Maddie. She's like Florida.
I'm like, we're in Florida.
Let's talk about Maddie Booker because it seems like as she goes, this team goes. Let's take a look really quickly about how she's played in their 3 games against the Gamecocks this season because as we mentioned, this is ×4. In her first game, she had 7 points. Second game, 20 points. The third game, 10 points. So we all know she looks up to KD. She wears number 35, models her game after him. Where do you see those similarities on the court, CP? Similarities between KD and Maddie Booker.
Kevin Durant and Maddie Booker, the similarities on the court between them.
Oh, Kevin Durant, the mid-range jump shot.
Yeah.
I can't hear y'all, sorry.
We're doing the best we can.
That's right. But here's the thing. Kevin Durant has kind of been what Madison Booker really patterned her game after. And that mid-range jump shot and how she gets off the bounce and elevates, especially to her right.
Yeah.
She is almost unstoppable and requires teams to either hedge in. When you watch, look at this, get up over the defense, the spin move in the paint. Madison Booker's a big guard, and so she is able to take a smaller defender down low. Oh, the push off and then the finish. I love both of their games, but it's when Madison Booker really gets into that jump shot, it's pure. And now it's like Kevin Durant, and it's a little bit, and I'm going to take it to the women's game. Simone Augustus
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
had a smooth mid-range as well.
Mid-range, my man.
We talked about South Carolina's defense and how important it's going to be in this matchup. How do they defend Maddie Booker?
The key to defending Madison Booker for me and what I saw in all 3 games is when South Carolina is able to take away a right hand.
Yep.
Now, I'm not saying that you can stop her when she goes to the left, but at least the percentages come down a little bit. So if she's on the left side of the floor, then you've got to get on that right hand and send her left. You see where Bree Hall immediately changes her feet, and you had Raven Johnson totally sell out to be there to help and contest. When she cuts from left to right, you see Malaysia Fulwiley sells out completely on that right hand, makes that left a little bit more difficult. I don't think you necessarily have to bring a double team, but I think if you just dictate, if you're at the mercy and you're reacting, look, actors win, reactors lose. So you've got to dictate which direction you want Madison Booker to go.
I want to talk a little bit more, or a little bit about Rory Harmon, because
Yeah.
she's been one of the greatest stories of this college basketball season. Obviously tearing her ACL, coming back. She said she was going to come back big, and she did, especially against TCU. So Texas doesn't shoot the 3 ball that much, but when they do, it's not very effective. Do they need her to hit shots in order to win?
The shorter answer is yes, because what Texas has a disadvantage of is South Carolina is so deep, right? They have the offense to carry. Texas, they need somebody outside of Maddie Booker to be able to carry an offense. And it impacts the spacing, too, because 2 years ago, when Raven Johnson from South Carolina wasn't hitting her shots, they sagged off of Raven. And so when you don't have the defensive attention on you, there's more attention on other people. So Rory needs to do what she needs to do in order to not only make it competitive offensively, but to help her teammates be open offensively as well.
Well, and I think that where Rory Harmon is key is in the ball screen action. Because if South Carolina plays in drop coverage to worry about the bigs of Texas, she doesn't necessarily have to hit the 3, but hit that short mid-range jumper. Listen, Vic Schafer doesn't call her number often to make shots, but in games that were close, that were decided, she was able to come in late. Remember, Vic Schafer had a little guard when he was at Mississippi State that made it to the Final Four. Do you remember her name? Her name was Morgan Williams.
Yeah.
And she broke the heart of Connecticut in that semifinal game.
Yeah.
Now, not sure why she didn't play much in the final game, but she got them to the finals. But it was key that his point guard was able to make key buckets at key times to get to that championship game.
I mean, can we just pause for a second?
Look at that.
Look at here.
That was a shot
period.
that heard around the world.
Look at Gino.
I don't know if y'all remember. I remember. So this was in Dallas, and when Connecticut lost finally, because that's not something we were used to, fans were literally having to be taken out of the arena because of actual medical emergencies, because nobody is like, this is a real thing. I'm not making it up. I can't make it up. They were taken out of the arena because they just were not used to UConn losing. And Morgan Williams, you know, when there are records that are set and people think they're untouchable, it's really hard to break the record. But Morgan was the one who essentially broke the record and kind of shattered it so that other teams can go into these finals and know that they can win too.
Is it Vic Schafer that is always breaking streaks?
Yeah.
He brought one to South Carolina.
We just talked about that earlier in the show. Okay, let's talk about this coaching matchup a little bit more because we've been talking about Vic. Let's talk about Vic against Don Staley, because Staley has had his number 7-0 against Schafer in the tournament, including that 2017 national title game when Schafer was at Mississippi State. So Don has his number. What makes us think that today will be different for Vic?
I'll tell you, in visiting with Vic Schafer now versus earlier in his career, when it got to this point, when it got to an opportunity to advance to the biggest stage, I think that Vic got a little tight. Since he's been at Texas, he has been a little more relaxed. I think he's got a lot of confidence in his players, and so now I don't know if there's anybody else on the floor that he trusts more than Roy Harmon. He had said from day one when he gave her the keys to the bus that she was going to be one of the best point guards to play at the University of Texas. So I think that has helped him, and I think now because he's been so close so long for so many times that I think that he's not tense. He understands his pressure or his anxiety affects the team, so he doesn't do that as much anymore.
He was talking about in the pressers how his players of the past have said, you know, Coach, you've gotten a little soft. And he's like, I didn't get soft. I now understand what you all need from me, and I can shift a little bit more. I'm more willing to give and take with you all.
I love that. We'll see if he's able to change that tonight. Let's head on over to the other matchup because we got UConn taking on UCLA. And this is very interesting. We talked about how there's more parity in women's college basketball. However, UConn is the favorite, even though they're the lowest remaining seed. They're 7.5-point favorites over UCLA, which, by the way, just a reminder, is the #1 seed overall. They're the odds-on favorite to win it all. So is this simply just the fact that they have Paige and UCLA doesn't?
I mean, I think that that's what everybody's looking at, but UCLA has Lauren Betts. Coach Glory Close has made it very clear, y'all aren't talking about us in a positive light enough.
That's true, yeah.
We are stuck. She said, I knew from August that my team was special. We have all the tools that we need. Between Kiki's facilitation and her court vision and Lauren Betts being the most dominant post player, and then you have other factors that play in, I don't understand why we are giving UConn such a heavy advantage. I think UCLA has the pieces, but Lauren Betts just has to do Lauren Betts things. But when you compare the two of them, Lauren Betts and Paige Bueckers both average 20 points per game. They both significantly decrease turnovers when they're on the floor. Offensive efficiency goes up when they're on the floor or when they stay on the floor. So they have similar impact to their team, and I don't think that UCLA is necessarily not deep.
I understand where UCLA is because I'll go back to in '99 when that tournament started. Everybody said it was going to be another rematch between Tennessee and Connecticut, and nobody was talking about the Purdue Boilermakers. Well, we were a #1 seed too, and so that was part of in our locker room. Our players were why is nobody talking about us? Why is nobody talking about Ukari Fig? Stephanie White was Player of the Year, but she still wasn't getting her due as well. We had Katie Douglas. We had Kelly Kamara coming off the bench. We had Camille Cooper inside. We had Michelle Duhart, who didn't need to take a shot in a game, but she could lock you down and defend. So I think Corey Close can take that same motivation. And how's that song go?
What is it, Kim?
Let me give them something to talk about. See,
let's give them something.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Bonnie Raitt said it best. Let's give them something to talk about, and I think that's the mentality that UCLA is coming into this tournament. Look, they only lost 2 games in the regular season. I think that one of the reasons that the odds makers are talking about Connecticut, the odd-on favorite, because when you look at Connecticut, what is their weakness? See how paused you are?
That is fair.
Yeah, that's true.
That's it.
That is
because
fair.
you can look at UCLA and say, does Lauren Betts get into foul trouble?
Yeah,
inconsistency of South Carolina, their offense, and Texas perimeter scoring.
Yeah.
When you look at UConn, the only one small,
a little bit of size,
I think, flaw that they may have is in the games that they have been out-rebounded, they're I think, 5-3. Okay, they got out-rebounded in 8 games. They're 5-3 when they lost to Notre Dame, when they lost to Tennessee, and when they lost to USC. USC only out-rebounded them by 1. So I think that rebound margin, I'm going to keep an eye on that this weekend. Now, there are not a lot of rebounds when UConn plays because they don't miss a lot of shots.
They're making buckets.
Right? But on the defensive end, do they allow offensive rebounds? I think that'll make a big difference of whether or not they advance to Sunday.
It's almost the best of both worlds, being the #1 overall seed but having no pressure because nobody expects anything from you. But we talked about earlier in the show about how much does experience play into it. If we're going by that logic, you're right, UConn is favored outside of all the things that Coach Peck just said. But this is historic for UCLA's program. This is the first time they're in the Final Four ever. But Corey Close has instilled in them, we have the discipline, we have the tools, we have the size in the post, we have the Defensive Player of the Year in Lauren Betts, we have the best post player in the country in Lauren Betts, so they're coming to show out.
All right, we'll talk a little bit more about UCLA in 2 seconds, but I want to talk about this UConn team because they have more than Paige, because Sarah Strong absolutely dominated.
It's in the genes.
Let's see, with 22 points, 17 rebounds. How can she be effective in this matchup?
I think that when you have Sarah Strong play the way that she did in that Elite 8 game, was 4 of 6 from the three-point line.
Yeah.
So when the post player can step out and not only plays weren't drawn for her, but she was hunting buckets in that game. She established herself of knocking down from the outside. That allowed her to attack on the inside. I don't understand a freshman that comes into this level of play with this kind of composure. Well, I do understand, and she gets it from her mama.
Yeah, she does. Come on, Allison.
No disrespect to her daddy, but I mean, the history of what Allison Feaster did for Stanford, you can just see that in Sarah and how she's playing on this stage.
I mean, that's impressive just to have a freshman be a part of the three-headed monster that is Connecticut.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about one more player on their team.
The third head?
AZ Fudd. Yeah, exactly. AZ Fudd, it's been interesting to watch her this tournament. What does she need to do tonight in order for them to find success?
Well, she needs to show up tonight. I know that postseason hasn't really been to her favor with the situations that have been surrounding her. Last year, she was sick, injured, sickness, injury. But UConn is 12-0 in the season when AZ makes at least 3 threes. They're 15-0 this season when she scores 13 or more points. It's beneficial to have the third head of your three-headed monster really producing on the offensive end.
But look, I'm going to take a little pressure off AZ Fudd because over the last 3 games, Paige Bueckers has hit what?
Right,
30
exactly.
Three times.
Yeah.
So you don't need AZ Fudd taking Paige Bueckers shots.
Yeah.
But when they take Paige away, then AZ be ready to shoot the ball.
It's always good to have
I think
the
in the
backup.
last game, I heard the commentators say that Gino has told her, don't pass. Tell AZ Fudd, don't pass. When it comes to you for a reason.
Yeah. Yep.
And it is to shoot the ball. So now all she has to do is be ready and shoot it because talk about mechanics and picture perfect. AZ Fudd has that.
I love how UConn lives and dies by the motion, moving the ball around, being so unselfish. Sometimes Gino is like, y'all need to be a little bit more selfish. Take your shot. The shot is there.
Exactly. Y'all are too much of a team. Okay, let's talk about the other team that they're playing because we mentioned Lauren Betts. She's the Defensive Player of the Year. She causes a lot of headaches. What kind of headaches is she going to cause for UConn tonight, CP?
I think that for UCLA, you got Lauren Betts. They got shooters.
Yeah.
They got shooters. And I think that's what's key for UCLA, as vital as keeping Lauren Betts on the floor, you got to keep Kiki Rice there.
Yes.
Because she is the head of the snake. She's a junior. She has started since she got to Los Angeles. And she's very cerebral about where, when, and how to get the ball to the right players and when to call her own number.
Yep.
So I think that Kiki Rice handling the pressure. Now, can't discount the defense of Connecticut, but to handle that and not turn over the basketball and to know when it's your time and when to move things around and keep everybody on the floor calm, I think Kiki Rice is important there.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, I'm quick to be like a pass first point guard, but no, she just sees the court and puts her teammates in the best position. And when you set them up for success like that and they start seeing their shot go in, it's a good recipe for, hey, I'm confident enough to shoot the ball and make the ball and know that I can. UCLA was shooting 69% off of Rice's passes this tournament. So just knowing that they are so effective by how she distributes the ball, it's a great sign.
As much on the offensive end for Kiki Rice, the defensive side, because I could see her matched up a lot with Paige Bueckers.
Yeah.
And I think she's got the quickness and the tenacity to try to, I won't say stop, but maybe slow down Paige a little bit.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask. How do you think they plan on slowing down because they can't stop Paige? How do you think they plan on doing that tonight?
Like I said before, you cannot just react. You've got to dictate, and I would say keep her on one side of the floor. If it's the right side, keep her there, because she's really good at coming off to the left, but you've got to dictate where you want her to be. If it's ball screens on the right side, ice it and keep her there. Send it to the baseline. Then the other 4 players on the floor know where the rotations are going to be. When you let her operate in the middle of the floor going either direction, hey, nobody knows how to get there.
All right, it's going to be a very good matchup. I just want to say, I know you heard everybody probably screaming in the background. It's because Shanae Ogumike, Andrea Carter, and Elle Duncan just pulled up. So everybody's very excited to see the big 3 as they get you ready for these matches as well. That's all we got. We're going to go watch some basketball.
I want to
hang out with you guys after the game.
They look like fun. Y'all are fun.
Y'all ready?
Y'all are fun.
It's going to be a good couple of games. Thanks for watching Countdown to the Semifinals delivered by Wendy's. Head to wendys.com/March Madness to grab the freshest deals in fast food.